And we're not getting ready for Built by UCF Nights this June 17th.
We're watching Sons of UCF live.
Oh, nice.
Stars on, baby.
Adam, you never know who's going to spin around in Monster the Barber's chair.
We're trying to up the star power around here. Mike can't join us off the top of the show, so we needed somebody who was close in that stratosphere to replace him. I'm not sure if KZ fills the bill or not, but
I would say that KZ certainly fills the bill. Mike's
UCF
running
Mike?
A little bit late. No, KZ over UCF
Okay.
Mike.
Okay.
We expect Mike to be joining us in progress. He's with his daughter's softball team. What are they? The Llama Corns, right?
The Llama Corns, yes.
Yeah. So
It's a softball kind of night, Trace. That's what the show's about. Softball kind of night.
A lot of energy. We're building to this NCAA regional. A little editorial meeting here. I wanted to talk about this cryptocurrency thing, but I want Mike to be here because I would like Mike to explain it to all of us. So we'll bump that down in the show, and we'll talk about it. We'll work it in at some point. By the way, an update, hopefully at 9 o'clock. Yeah.
Is it protocol? Okay. All right. Because I need Mike to pronounce it for me because I have no idea how to do that.
We'll talk about it. But if we go past 9, good news. My alarm is working again. Fingers crossed. So we don't have quite that beep situation getting ready for us at 9 o'clock. Trying to keep up with linebacker comings and goings. It was already a sore thumb for UCF, right? It's already a position group. We get the boom, the addition of the Maryland, Kansas State for a cup of coffee, transfer Brandon Jennings. We're still not sure whether this guy's going to be cleared to play, right?
Yeah, I mean, big kid, 6'3", 235, 4-star, coming out of high school, played a year at Maryland, 23 tackles at Maryland, left Maryland at the same time Terrence Lewis leaves Maryland. There were thoughts of a package deal, and all of a sudden he ends up at Manhattan, Kansas, which I think we all kind of scratched our head and said, what are you going to do? I think he attends about 2.6 classes and decides he's back in the portal and now coming back to UCF, a Florida kid from Jacksonville, so that makes some sense. Eligibility-wise, Trace, I don't know. I mean, you would seem to think he would need a waiver, and a lot of people are thinking he's going to get that Joey Gatewood-style waiver. I don't know. Interesting thing, though. Kansas State, a future conference foe. This kid has 3 years of eligibility left, so conceivably Kansas State will have to deal with him at some point. So will they play nice? Will the waiver be approved? Is there something we don't know about, that's happened personally for Brandon? Don't know. But listen, we need all the help we can get at linebacker. Chris Maul flipping at the last minute, deciding to enroll in Washington instead. So
is he a once a night, always a night, or not ever really quite?
I don't think so, because he didn't step on campus as far as I know. So I feel like that's the one you got to put we have an interesting question later in the mailbag that will address the once a night, always a night. I think you got to get a pinky on campus. No pinky, no night.
And then we hardly knew you. Kadeem Leonard, a former night linebacker, transferring to Campbell. We wish him well, but still a lot of flux in this position. Linebacker. I don't feel any better coming out of spring camp on this, and I don't know what sort of certainties we're going to have going into preseason camp. But and we'll get to defense. We'll talk about that position group in a couple of weeks. A couple of Charge on Tour dates coming up. I'm hoping to make the one in the Space Coast out at Cape Canaveral, Gators Dockside, and we should be back on Thursday. We thank you for joining us on Wednesday. Baseball conflict on Thursday. I just want to be at the game, to be honest with you. Can't do both at the same time, so forgive me. We're on Wednesday this week, but you'll catch it either live or on demand, of course. And then maybe the lead into us is that Charge on Tour stop in Oviedo. See if we can get some folks. And certainly, if you're interested, DM us. Let us know if you want to hop on right off the top of the show and give us your thoughts on Timo and Coach Malzahn and whoever else may wander by Oviedo on the park. That's where they were last year. We took John Morning and his son Miles last year from that event, didn't we? If memory serves me.
We did. I think Johnny Dawkins scheduled to appear as well. So certainly an opportunity to rub elbows with some of the bigger names in the UCF athletic circle. And always a good time, Trace. I haven't had a chance to get to one of these yet. I know you've been to a couple. I know Mike's been to a couple. But you get a good opportunity to talk to coaches, hear a little bit more about what's happening behind the scenes. So certainly a good event in the backyard of a lot of the hardcore night fan right now. So hopefully these are well-attended tours because I know a lot of folks really enjoy getting this opportunity.
I had a friend who went to the one in Tampa and had a good time. The photo with Coach Malzahn, of course, is a good keepsake. And it certainly seems like an event that he's built for. He likes that sort of thing. And hopefully get a chance to see him next week, as many of you will as well. Question I asked this week as we continue to talk about position groups coming out of spring is grade the tight end group as we come out of spring. A or B, most folks. This is a position group I feel that UCF, we look good at. I just don't know how much they're going to be used by Coach Malzahn and his staff.
Yeah, I got to think he wants to get the tight end more involved. I mean, I think that certainly opens up more avenues. At Auburn, he had kind of that H-back, that style of player. Katzenmoyer, I think was one of the guy's names, or Lutzenkircher, one of those names like multiple syllables, somewhere along those lines, right?
Lutzenkirchmoyer,
yeah, something like that, right? Yeah. Was there, and so I think Gus wants to get that, that position involved. We saw Alec Holler emerge last year as kind of a pass catching threat. Jake Hescock had a couple opportunities. We threw some fades to Charlie Browder, barely knew you in the end zone. Those didn't work out. So Alec Holler was the production from an offensive standpoint on tight end. But Kamor Gamble comes in from Florida. He's a guy obviously that can catch the football. So we hope that works out for us from that perspective. I think it'll be an interesting battle between him and Alec Holler coming back into the camp, because I think both of them have offensive skills. But I really hope that Gus has a chance to get the tight end more involved. Certainly would help out the passing game, especially if you got a young QB like Mikey Keene.
Congratulations to Alec Holler. You saw the photos on social media getting engaged in the last couple of days.
He scores again in the bounce house, yeah.
Yeah, that was a popular line, and I'm glad you were able to use it here on the Sons of UCF Live.
I wrote it down.
Did you write that down? You're over-under. You like to do that in your preseason predictions. Yeah. 25. Are you going to set it at 25 again? I don't know. It's hard to take the over.
25 and a half was the over-under on tight end receptions total last year. I think Holler had 19, so the under hits on that. I feel like 25 and a half is still a good number. I know a friendly gentleman's wager between JP Gilbert and Cossack Advisor broke out on Twitter. I think JP has the under. I think Cossack has the over, if I have that right. So I'll go over on that too. I think we get to that 26, 27 mark. I think 25 and a half stays where we are. I'm going to go over on that.
I just don't know how they're going to utilize the position. I don't think we saw enough in the first year.
Katzenmoyer, Lutzenkircher, one of those is going to spawn out for UCF. Look, I think we repute Gus to be an offensive minded coach. Obviously, Chip Lindsey comes in with an offensive perspective as well. And I got to think they're going to find opportunities to get some of those pass plays available, particularly if the wide receiver depth is continuing to evolve, right? Obviously, I know we lose Jalen Robinson. And what better safety valve do you have than a tight end, particularly one like Kamor Gamble, who's got some experience. You got to think he came here for a reason. I can't imagine he came here so he could set the edge for Mark Anthony Richards. So I got to imagine there's a reason Kamor Gamble bought into this offensive system.
Not a lot of football talk in the dead of May, but we've given you some right off the top of the show. Of course, the buzz on campus and in Night Nation is around softball. Big party on Sunday night for the selection show when UCF, for the first time ever, heard their name called as a host site, a 16 seed. And of course, they're, AAC champs. We've been talking about them all season long. 46-12, 16-2 in the AAC. Run Rule, our rivals. Still rivals? I'm not sure. Rivals from Tampa in the AAC championship game. And now they face Big East champ Villanova Friday, 6 o'clock. We'll see what the weather does in this one. Already baseball's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, rescheduled to a doubleheader Thursday. So it'll be interesting to see how the schedule plays out. Temporary bleachers added. I posted those on my Twitter at SignPez. We had a chance to talk with Coach Cindy Ball Malone. We'll hear from her in a little bit. And I'll have more sound bites from her on my Twitter as I got back from UCF, and then it's time for the show. So not a lot of time to get those flip back out. One of the things that was exciting about that AC championship game, of course, is Jada Cody. We had her as a previous guest on the Sons of UCF Live, socking a home run and setting the RBI record. I mean, it was a great moment, right? And surpassing Stephanie Best. You loved that moment when you saw it unfold on TV.
Yeah, that whole day was just really exciting, right? And A, you win the championship, which is fantastic. B, you put it to your rivals again. You run rule them, which, in this context is really the biggest embarrassment you can give to a team, right, is the run rule concept. And the team just played so well. And we had a chance to have Jade on the show. I reposted that conversation. It's on our YouTube channel. Just such a lovely person. She had such a good personality about her. You could tell how hard she worked. You could tell how much this meant to her. And I think think Mike said on the podcast this week, he thought maybe it would come a little sooner, but I feel like this is like the kismet perfect. I mean, right? This game, that moment where we were, puts the game out of reach in a lot of respects. And I think it was just the right time, the right moment. Couldn't happen to a nicer person than Jada Cody. If you saw those interviews, and Trace, you did a great job of being at Island Wing for that watch party. The genuine excitement that team had, right? Sometimes you watch those and they're like, yeah, we're going to whatever. I mean, they were out of their chair. They were jumping up and down. They were hugging people. You could tell the genuine excitement that was there. Nothing better to see that than that actual jubilation of that moment for UCF. And Jada Cody, a big part of all that. Super proud to have her representing our university, because she seems like somebody who does it the right way.
At Island Wing Company on Sunday night after the selection show, she was asked, what about a keepsake like that ball that you'd want to have? Of course, we saw in the broadcast, it flew as a home run into the woods. So she was asked, what became of the ball?
So far that it was in the woods, so a dog had to go and retrieve the ball. So it definitely was a great feeling.
A dog had to go and retrieve the ball. Makes you curious, right? I reached out to our friend Eric Lopez, who'll be coming up and joining us on the show. And I said, you know anything more about that? And he said, I think Kama Woodall, pitcher Kama Woodall's family was involved in that some way. So I was able to reach out to them. Joining us now to talk about the retrieval of that ball is Rich Woodall, Kama Woodall, pitcher Kama Woodall's dad. Thanks so much for joining us on the Sons of UCF Live.
Hey, glad to be here.
All right, so you heard Jada there. She said it's out in the woods. A dog retrieved it, and we don't know a whole lot more. Help us fill in some blanks. What do you know?
All right, so when Kama was at East Carolina, as you guys know, I would drive from Tampa up there on the weekends, watch her play, and I had a puppy, and I had a dog myself. So instantly, I would go to left field, and I'd watch from up there. So I'm just used to going up there, and then the Shoppakers and the other folks decided they'd set up the left field lounge out there. So we were all out there enjoying some friendly libations and watching the game at 8:30 in the morning, 9 o'clock. And some of Kama's friends came out to watch. And Sydney Yoder, it's her dog. His name's Bubba. And we're sitting there, and Shannon had hit her home run and hit on top of the control van for ESPN. I went over there, and I asked the guy to get that. It's up on top of the van, but he brought it over to me. And a few minutes later, Jada comes up and hits one that goes over us. I mean, we see it, and it goes into the woods. And immediately I'm going after that ball because I know the significance of it. And I get to it, and it's in the thicket. I mean, there's no way I'm getting in there without, stumbling over a few things. But there goes Bubba right past me, grabs the ball and brings it over to me. And I'm running down and getting it to the trainer over there for the team. And it was really exciting. I love seeing kids get souvenirs and, get the recognition and importance of those moments. It's awesome. But there was no way I was getting that ball. It landed probably 260, 265 in the woods, in the pine trees. Yeah. It was
Adam,
fun.
there's so many questions here, right? I mean, let's turn to you. How does the dog retrieve that softball? I mean, it's a softball here, not a baseball, right, Adam?
Yeah, probably the question most people are asking, Rich. Was there any sanitation after the ball was retrieved? Was it cleaned off? What was the condition as it went from you to trainer?
I'd had a few pops, so I wiped it on my shirt and took it over to the trainer.
Shirts work. That's the best cleaning mechanism is your shirt. That's a standard rule. Obviously, you've seen this team a lot this year, right? You've seen them play. You follow them very closely. You said it earlier. You saw that ball leave Jada's bat. Did you know it was gone the minute she hit it?
Yeah, absolutely. Her and Shannon both. I mean, and it was just awesome. Yeah, it was gone. I hadn't seen one hit that far out of that park lately.
And then you recognize the significance. Put into perspective the year you saw Jada have. How cool was it to be there for that moment, knowing how hard she's worked throughout the year?
Jada is so unassuming, you wouldn't know she's there. I mean, she just goes out and performs. She's a stand-up kid. She's a soft-spoken kid. She just carries herself like a professional beyond her years. I mean, she doesn't have any air about her. She's a great teammate. The kids love her. I know Kama loves her. Kama's only been there a year, but I mean, she's instantly falling in love with her, and she deserves every accolade she gets. Jada is just, she's truly unique.
Knight Nation has fallen in love with your daughter as well. 9-19, 3.36 ERA at ECU. Coach Cindy Ball Malone saw greatness in her. She comes to UCF. She's put forth a tremendous season, 17-4, 2.01 ERA, 1-2 punch with Gianna Mancha. How do you explain her success this season?
So, without being too demeaning to the previous team, there was not a lot of defense behind her at ECU, unfortunately. And there's a lot of balls. We played UCF a lot, 4 games, and even in the championship game, it was a matter of 1 run here and there, getting through the wickets of the second baseman. And, but Kama's a consummate team player. She would never point fingers or anything. So when Coach Ball saw her play, she reached out after Kama went into the portal. Kama wasn't really sure she was going to want to play again, but Coach Ball reached out, and they had a conversation about when Kama kind of made a comment to her because Coach Ball was picking her pitches up at ECU, and Kama looked at her and said something to the effect, "I'm going to keep throwing it because y'all aren't hitting it." And Coach Ball loved that. And I have to say, Coach Ball has brought out the best in Kama. She brings out the best in every one of those kids. I mean, as individuals, they're good, but what she puts on it with her own style has made them a great force. And they've said it all year. They're a great team, and they're a special team. But Kama's in love here. She's had a great year. It's a culmination of a 4-year career. I quote it as what a long, strange trip it's been, the Grateful Dead. But she's really gelled here. She's an unselfish player. She's competitive, as you guys may have noticed. And she just does whatever they want her to do. And she's been so happy. She's been on top of the world this whole year. She, a lot of late night conversations, in the last 4 years and even this year when she's had a bad game or a bad outing, she comes to me and I just tell her, you reflect, you don't rewind, you just keep moving forward. And it's really paid dividends this year because she stepped up her game. And I couldn't be more proud of her, but Coach Ball has a lot to do with that and the rest of the team as well.
She's had a tremendous season. You have every reason to be proud of her, and she's been a great addition to the UCF Knights. We wish her much success this weekend. We hope you enjoy the game. It's going to be a sold-out Plex. Going to be rocking for this NCAA regional. Rich Woodall, dad of Kama Woodall, pitcher for the UCF Knights softball team. Thanks so much for joining us on the Sons of UCF Live.
Hey, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Rich.
All right, we've gotten to the bottom of this, Adam. We know a little bit more now, thanks to Bubba, the Black Lab.
How cool is that, though? Just seeing a father, how proud he is of his daughter, and how this team has come together. That's got to be such a cool moment to have that experience, and that it's still going on for the team is fantastic. That's awesome to see.
Well, as I mentioned, just back from the Plex, where we had opportunity to do a little Q&A with head coach Cindy Ball Malone, and I remembered something that Gianna Mancha, the pitcher, said on Sunday night at Island Wing Company after the selection show, that she's just glad to be home and not traveling and not be in hotels. So I asked Coach, what do you think about that home field advantage?
It has been nice to sleep in our own beds, but as a coach, I told them, because there's a quick turnaround on some of these days and these games. And I said, the perfect world is we're in a hotel, we get to meet and stay together and, get to bed at a certain time and make sure we're doing all of that. But I want them to enjoy this. And so we just talk about what really good decisions are in these moments. We have a lot of family coming out. And so, they're on board too, to make sure that we stay in our routine. But, outside of that, sleeping in your own bed is always good.
We couldn't have a NCAA regional hosted by UCF and not bring in the voice of UCF softball, a return guest on the Sons of UCF Live. He is Eric Lopez, who was out at the Plex as well earlier today. Elo, are you still on cloud 9 after this selection show on Sunday?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of starting to come down a little bit because the heat at the media availability was pretty sticky. And in fact, I just got done talking to Michigan head coach Carol Hutchins before hopping on with you guys, and she talked about, because they just got in today and got into practice at Stephanie Best's Pro Swings, and she talked about how humid and hot it is. She says it's the hottest she can remember at this time of year, and that, I didn't think about that until Coach Hutchins mentioned that, but you think about the 3 teams here, Michigan, South Dakota State, and Villanova. They're not used to this heat and humid. This could work to UCF's big advantage here if it stays hot and not wet. So let's fingers crossed.
Let's go back. What'd you think of Mr. Woodall's tale of the retrieval of that softball? That all came together nicely, didn't it, for a few moments here on the Sons of UCF Live?
I'm just glad you got to the bottom of this. There's been so many variations of this story since it all came out. I mean, what are the odds that, Jada Cody breaks the record? It goes into the woods. And I remember watching it live. I'm thinking, oh, that's a shame she's not going to get that ball. But, it's good to know people. And it was destined to be to get that ball to Jada Cody. So that's an awesome story. I'm glad you guys got to share that. Rich is great. Janet, the mom, is fantastic. And, Kama Woodall has been tremendous. I've said this before. she's the Mike Hughes of UCF softball. There's no UCF athlete that had a bigger impact in 1 year than Mike Hughes and Kamal Woodall. Without Woodall, this team is not winning the conference championships, and they're not hosting because of the the impact that she's had, kind of like Hughes did in 2017.
All right, you mentioned hosting, Elo. Can you put in context for us, how big a deal is this? UCF hosting the regional. It's something we've all talked about, but you've been around the sport for a long time. You've been around UCF a long time. Put this in context for me. How big a deal is this really?
It's significant. I think this is the most significant NCAA championship that UCF's ever hosted. With all due respect to men's soccer and women's soccer and volleyball, those sports have a niche audience that's usually not even on ESPN in the early rounds. This regional is going to be on the ESPN family of networks all weekend. It's got the national broadcast because they call it mayhem. It's kind of like March Madness for men's basketball. It's mayhem for softball. I think it's the most popular women's tournament in any sport. And for UCF to host is just significant. I've gotten so many compliments. Everybody's saying that, UCF earned that. They deserve that. They were the people's pick on Selection Sunday. Everybody was rooting for UCF to host. And when it came through, I haven't heard a bad word about it. Nobody's questioning it. Everybody's excited. You saw the genuine reaction on Selection Sunday. I think this team program has gotten so many fans, and I think the hosting this regional is going to have a lasting impact on this program on and off the field. Obviously, on the field, the growth as they go into the Big 12, but I think also big off the field. And I think Trace, and I talked about this. There's going to be a lot of talk now about renovations moving forward after this regional. I have a feeling.
Did you like those bleachers? It looked nice filling out that space.
It did. It's kind of wild how that's going to be right up there behind the third base dugout. And it's going to be unique. It's just going to add to the environment. There's going to be a standing room only in left field. A lot of the alumni are going to be hanging out in left field. And they're adding, I think, some seats at right field. So I can't wait to see what it will be like this weekend. I don't know if I'm necessarily prepared to see it. I think I have an idea, but I don't think we really do until we see it. This thing sold out Tuesday morning. It was fast. Like, people are still asking me for tickets, and I'm sorry. I can't help you.
You can only name drop you and maybe get free eats in the left field lounge. But not free ticket. Mike, welcome in. How did the Llama Corns do? Was it practice or a game tonight?
No, it was a game. It was the season finale, and it's over. Let's just say that.
Wow. Are we waiting for Selection Sunday, or we're okay?
No.
We're in the first four out, I think.
Elo, obviously we talk about hosting. What are the pros and cons of that, though? We heard the soundbite that Trey Scott about sleeping in your own bed, but also being at home, being with a lot of family. Give me the pros and cons of hosting this tournament. Is that added pressure for the Knights this weekend?
I don't think it's added pressure. I think it's the pros are very simple. You get the fan support. You get to be the 1 seed. The negative is, as the 16th seed, you get a brutal draw. You got Michigan, who I think is the best 2 seed in this tournament. And I think you get the best 4 seed in Villanova. They can score runs in bunches. And then I know South Dakota State pretty well. They got 2 great pitchers. This is a pitching region. If you like pitching, you're going to love this regional. This is a top 3 ERA regional. There's stacked pitching here. So the con is you get a stacked regional, but the pros outweigh the cons. I mean, to host, to have that home, field advantage, to be able to kind of, not adjust to the weather like the other teams have to in the environment. I think that's big. And, we don't know. We're kind of the elephant in the room is the weather. We don't know what the weather is going to show in the weekend. I have to let people know this regional has to end by Monday. If whatever happens, it will be done by Monday, which will add pressure to make sure you stay on the winning side, because if this tournament doesn't finish, the highest seed gets to advance that's in the winner's bracket. So that's going to be also an advantage potentially for UCF, that they have that advantage if they could stay in the winner's bracket.
Speaking of pitching, we know Gianna Mancha, the season that she's had. What's the strategy? Is she pitching game 1? You're holding her back for Michigan? Or what are we going to do? That's
a good question. Coach Bo Malone likes to keep it close to the vest. I think it's funny you guys said just had Rich. It wouldn't surprise me if you see Kamal start Friday and then Gianna against Michigan, but they're interchangeable, and it wouldn't surprise me if they both pitched in the game. And softball, it's not like baseball where you save your guy for Saturday and that's it. He's not available. You could split these two throughout the weekend. It wouldn't surprise me if they go that route. We'll see. I'm very curious myself. I could see them going with Woodall. But again, I wouldn't be surprised if Coach Bo Malone goes either way. The trend has been to go with Mancha then Woodall. But it's something to keep in mind. When UCF played Michigan in Clearwater, Michigan did not face either pitcher. They faced Caitlin Felton, the freshman, at that time. So whereas UCF got to see Alex Duraco, the All-American for Michigan. So I'm going to be curious like you are, Mike, about as far as who's they're going to throw on Friday night and set the tone here in the first ever, regional for the Knights.
If weather is an issue, what's the latest that they can start a game or resume a game?
11:59 Eastern is what you can start.
PM.
I know Tracy and I have argued about this. You're not a fan of it, but 11:59 is the latest you could start a game. After that, you're done. And the tricky part with this, you want to make sure that both games get in. The last thing you want to do is, start one game and then the second game doesn't get played, because now the winner of that first game has a huge advantage. So it's a very delicate situation. I'll be very curious. All the teams and the NCAA reps will meet on Thursday, and I think they'll discuss some options. I don't know I'm not a meteorologist, although I did play one last week and, during the American Conference tournament. But if the weather looks bad, they're going to have to make a decision. Like, is there a window they could play on Friday? Do they move the game earlier? Do they move the game later? Do they just postpone it a day? I think there's going to be a lot of conversations on that on Thursday, and I think we'll start hearing what the game plan is one way or the other. I would not be surprised if you hear some news about that. We already heard with baseball, and I know you're going to talk to Stephen Branca about this. They're going to play a doubleheader on Thursday. So it's not looking great for Friday. Wouldn't shock me if they moved up the games or maybe push it to Saturday. But again, with weather, you just never know. So I'll let those people decide.
Part of having Rich on, Elo, we talked about Jada Cody, obviously a record-setting season for her. Can you put that in context for me? How you saw her play a bunch this year. What kind of player is she? Can you put in context for us this season that she just put together?
It's one of the greatest seasons in UCF softball history. It's probably the greatest offensive season that a player in the program not named Stephanie Best has ever had. Think about the record she just broke. Stephanie Best has held that record since 2003, and nobody has come close to that. Not only did Jada Cody come close to that, she broke the record 10 games faster than Stephanie Best. Very fitting that she would break it in Greenville, which is about 400 miles away from Fort Mill, South Carolina, which is where Steph was from. Steph and Jada know each other well. Jada has worked out at Pro Swings for Steph, and Steph has followed this very closely. Jada Cody should be, in the next couple of weeks, the second All-American in UCF softball history, joining Shelby Turnier, who was the All-American and a top 10 finalist for Player of the Year in 2015. She was a pitcher. I think Jada Cody is making a legacy for herself, not only in the offensive game, but think about how she's doing it. She's doing it as a catcher for Gianna Mancha. She's playing third base and can play left field. At the track she's going, she's got a chance to challenge some of Stephanie's career marks, which I never thought was possible. Nobody has even come close in the radar. Like, there was never a debate. Who's the greatest hitter in UCF softball history? It's Stephanie Best, without question. Now Jada Cody's trying to make that a debate, and she's off to a good start.
All right, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but I'm going to get ahead of ourselves. Say we win this weekend. Is the bracket set in stone? We play the winner of the Oklahoma bracket? And if so, if Oklahoma loses, does that mean we get to host the Super Regional?
Wow, you're calling the upset.
Wow, there's a lot of ifs.
Jeez,
a lot of
going on.
I've lost track of where we were in the ifs.
So first of all, yes, the winner of this regional plays the Norman Regional. If Minnesota or Texas A&M win the regional and shock Oklahoma, first of all, that'd be the biggest upset maybe in regional history. But if that happens, then yes, if UCF wins the regional, they would host the Super Regional. So yes, if you're a Knight fan, you're hoping that they win the regional, and then you're hoping for an upset. And who knows? Oklahoma's ace, Jordy Ball, is kind of iffy right now for the regional. So maybe it could happen. Maybe Mike foreshadows this. Who knows? But yes, that's the form. And then what's ironic is, let's say UCF plays Oklahoma in the Supers and they win that. Well, they're probably going to just stay there because Norman is not that far. It's probably a bus ride to Oklahoma City. So they might just stay there and go straight to Oklahoma City at that point, which is where the Women's College World Series takes place. But first things first, got to take care of business in this regional, which I think is one of the two toughest regionals in the tournament. So I'm not going to get ahead of myself like you, Mike.
You got all the way to the World Series. You jumped a stage past me. So.
I'm just giving you geography. Here.
All right, a little rapid fire here, a trademark the Sons of UCF at the end of their interviews. If UCF wins, what has happened?
If UCF wins, they are regarded as the greatest youth softball program of all time and probably goes down as one of the great UCF teams, period. Obviously football 2017 is at the top. But then we got to get into some conversations after that. I think softball could go way up there. I mean, maybe volleyball, one of those volleyball championship teams jumps to mind. But this softball team, if they win this regional, they're right up there with some of the women's soccer teams, with maybe the Michelle Akers teams, among the greatest teams ever, because they would have accomplished everything that no other UCF softball program's done. So they would definitely be the greatest team in softball program history and be in the conversation among the greatest UCF teams, period.
And let me channel a UCF Mike Line. He likes to talk about this a lot. Okay, you got there. That's nice. Are you going to win? Has this been a successful season if they don't advance out of this regional? Is that fair, Mike? Is that the way you would phrase that question?
Sure. Maybe not so nice, but yeah.
I got a bone to pick with Mike because he's influenced my weekend, which I'll explain in a bit. But look, if they win, how do they lose the regional? Do they lose it in a tight series? I mean, Michigan was my pick to get to the World Series. They got 2 All-American pitchers. This is not an easy regional. This is not a layup. So it would be disappointing if they don't win a regional. Obviously, you're home, but I don't think that takes away. I think this team, the impact this team will have on the program goes beyond on the field. I really do believe, guys, that as they move to the Big 12, I think this will speed up the chatter and the talk and possibly the execution of renovations for this program. I think everybody's going to leave this weekend thinking, hey, we need to add this and we need to do that. I think the program will change forever, and we'll look back on this team that started this. They started this kind of, that's to me the legacy of this team, whether they win or lose the regional. But obviously, if they win the regional, it goes in a different level as far as UCF teams of all time. Maybe a Hall of Fame team type. There's a few UCF teams in the UCF Athletic Hall of Fames. This team should get consideration if they win the regional.
And let me end with this softball here. Set up you coming off of 64 out of 64, making all the selections. Mike mentioned it. Adam mentioned it on their show this week. Are we going to hear from you? Is this all the ESPN family of networks, or can people hear?
All right, so I'll give you the scoop right now. So I will not be on the ESPN family of networks this weekend. ESPN owns the NCAA tournament. They pretty much bring in their own broadcasters. So it'll be Tyler Denning and Nicole Mendez who will be on the broadcast. So unfortunately, they will be on the ESPN side. They'll be in my booth in the ESPN family. The good news is
my booth.
It is my booth. I mean, nobody else sits in that booth.
Is there a little plaque up there that says the Eric Lopez booth? It's
no comment. I will. I've sat there for 15 years, so I feel
you removed your microphone and your headphones, and there's nothing left in there. They better bring their own pens.
Pretty much, they're on their own. But I will be broadcasting audio-wise on UCFnights.com. Kind of a throwback. I used to do this a lot during the first 13 years, where I would do road games and stuff like that, and tournament games on the UCFnights.com. So we will have a coverage of that on UCFnights.com. I'll post a link. It'll be through Twitch. I will have the audio broadcast of the Villanova game. Now, here's where Mike kind of ruffled some feathers here. I heard the podcast, and he brought up this idea about me doing the game outside in left field. Somebody at UCF heard this because South Dakota State is bringing radio, which, go figure. Michigan's not, but South Dakota State is. So UCF, wanting to be good host, has asked me to let South Dakota State use the booth.
I kicked you out of your booth?
So the visiting booth.
The second booth? Wow.
Yes. So if we play South Dakota State at some point in this regional, they will have the booth where I will be outside underneath the booth calling the game. Now, they can't do left field because they've moved the lounge a little further back because they got standing room only. We couldn't make that work. But they're going to let me broadcast outside underneath the press box, and I will be calling the game, possibly with Trace sitting next to me with an umbrella.
And direct sun, 200 degrees.
So if you hear some snarky comments in the background, that's Trace. So that in itself, you should tune in for that. But because of Mike, I will be now outside on the broadcast if we play South Dakota State. So
I've got the solution.
Yeah.
I proposed this. I wanted a VIP section on top of that building. What's that building that's there along the third base side? How about just set you up with a nice table, just like Malzahn was on the sidelines? Have you broadcast from the top of there?
I really don't want to be hit by line drives that could be potentially coming there. Plus, as Trace saw this, they're adding bleacher seats behind the third base dugout. So there's going to be 200, 300 fans, Trace, you saw there? I mean,
yeah, I was asked on Twitter this afternoon what the capacity is. I asked the sports information director, and they're not sure yet. So there's going to be standing room only in the outfield as well. So it will set a record, though, because they're adding all these seats.
Yeah, so it's going to shatter the record. But yeah, if we play South Dakota State, I will be outside probably with an umbrella. So hopefully that doesn't come to that. But there you go. Thanks, Mike.
Elo,
You just keep
Eric, one last one for you. Obviously, you have the most credits I've ever had. I actually almost had to have a second bar on the screen to credit all of the work you do. You're also a crazy Heat fan. I'm sure you're watching the Panthers. When are you sleeping, right? Are you sleeping at all? You're getting all the tournaments correct. You're the bracketologist. When are you actually sleeping? Is that taking place at all?
You have no idea how happy I was that the Heat and the Panthers finished off their series in 6 games, because I had the potential of both of those series going 7 on Sunday, the same time as the selection show. My head would have exploded. Thankfully, it didn't come to that. The Heat right now are opposite of the regional schedule. However, I have noticed that the Heat are playing game 3 on Saturday night. Hopefully, we're not playing at the same time. So it's been a little stressful back and forth. Of course, the NHL has put the Panthers Lightning series at the same time as the Heat. What am I supposed to do there?
Gotta get your cow of the week on some shows.
Amen to that. I mean, give me a break. So, yeah, I haven't slept much, to answer your question, Adam. It's been a lot of caffeine, 2, 3 in the morning. At least I'm not doing brackets anymore. I'm just preparing notes for the broadcast this weekend.
We know you're watching both games, but which game has the sound on while you're watching? Panthers or Heat?
Heat.
Yeah, Heat. Yeah, come on, Mike.
Yeah, that's Adam and I come from the same cloth. Come on now. I mean,
rough first half last night, Elo. Rough first half last night.
But Jimmy Buckets came to play.
Third quarter, though. Yeah,
third quarter. So hopefully it's a nice night tomorrow while I'm prepping, and then I'll be on the air Friday. We don't need the schedule to change. I don't need to be going up against the Heat too often. But it's a crazy time, but a fun time. I'm really much enjoyed it. But no,
Eric Lopez, we appreciate you sharing your softball knowledge with us on this week's Sons of UCF Live. I'll see you out at the Plex this weekend.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for the support of the softball program, and I appreciate having me on, and thanks for everything, and always a pleasure to be on with you guys.
All right.
Thanks,
Well, he mentioned that the weather already impacting things. Baseball, last night, rain shortened. They get a 10-2 5-inning win over Bethune-Cookman. They're 31-21 now, 13-8 in the AC. They are tied for second. They've changed the schedule for Thursday. Going to be a doubleheader. First game at 1, and then after that game, 45 minutes later, they'll start that second game. Still not sure what they're going to do on Friday. Obviously, the weather, but probably want to avoid softball. All the attention is going to be over on that side of campus. Coach Greg Lovelady, with the raindrops still falling behind, talked about the challenge of facing Cincinnati.
Let's go out there and compete, play our game, pitch and play good defense, and just going to need some guys to step up, and whoever it's going to be. It's probably going to be somebody different every game that's going to need to be the guy. But don't change anything. Go out there and play baseball, have fun.
All right, let's bring in Stephen Branca. You hear him on ESPN Plus, coverage of the night. Stephen, the up and down season, but this team potentially here a second seed going into the conference championship in Clearwater next week.
Which is crazy to think about, right? With the ups and downs, like you said. I mean, it's been a wild ride, but I mean, Coach Lovelady's got those guys right well enough, right? They're playing well enough.
Well enough,
right?
Well enough.
That's exactly what it's been, right? It hasn't been something that you're like, oh, this team is, they're world beaters, but they're doing well enough to where they're going to put themselves in a good position in the conference tournament to make a run. So that's all you could ask at that point. If you're not going to win the regular season or put up 40 wins, you just got to put yourself in a good position in conference in that tournament to give yourself a chance to win it.
Well, this weekend's going to be interesting, as Trace just mentioned. Obviously, we're going to do a double header, change of plans to weather. How does that impact what you think Coach Lovelady might do strategy-wise now, having to do 2 games in one day?
Yeah, I think it's going to benefit them, to be honest, because I don't think a team from Cincinnati is going to be used to 90-degree heat playing 2 games. But boys from Florida, they're going to be used to that. They're going to be ready for that. So I think it's in their advantage. The only thing that's going to be tough is that pitching depth. But you're just playing to win each game. And so you're just playing to win the first game, and then you move on to the second one with whatever you got. And if you win the first 2, I mean, you got yourself a series win, and that's all they're looking to do. And so I think it's going to favor them just because of that heat. They're not going to be used to coming down from Cincinnati, that heat. Also, this whole double header change thing, I don't get paid enough to be doing all this. You know what I mean? There's a lot of moving parts here. When they said there's a crew call at 11 o'clock for this thing, I'm like, what are you talking about? 11 o'clock? Like, I'm finishing brunch at that point. What are we like I'm trying to get a mimosa in at this point. You guys are scheduling a game, and I mean, it is a Thursday, so No, it's going to be interesting for sure.
I heard Coach Lovely talk about Connor Stain and his blisters and all the things he's trying to do to get back on the field. I heard him say pickle juice was in there, maybe a bucket of rice or something. What's the craziest thing you ever did? I know there's some hitters that maybe did some things like Jorge Posada, their stories. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
I know.
Did you ever do anything like that?
No, I never did anything like that, because here's the thing is, then I got to sit here and talk about it with somebody like you guys about how, one time I decided when I was in the shower, I was going to do this because I had blisters on my hand. You know, I don't know. I guarantee you he's probably tried it at this point because he's trying to do everything he can to get on the field. But he does need to pitch this weekend. So here's the thing is it's going to be really hard heading into the conference tournament if you have not seen Connor Stain pitch the week before that tournament starts. That's going to be really, really difficult to rely on somebody like that, especially in a starter role like you're going to want to use him in. If there's a back end guy, closer, reliever, you know, it's a little bit different. A guy that you're trying to get 5, 6, 7 innings out of, you got to see him pitch and pitch without issue this weekend, in my opinion.
What surprises you more from a statistical standpoint, that the Knights are batting .282 and that's second in the American, or they lead the league in ERA at 3.97?
Oh boy. Both of those are shocking, to be honest.
Right?
Because,
they're strange statistics, right?
It's very strange. If you told me that they were going to hit 280, I'd say you're probably about right. If you told me they were going to pitch as well as they pitched, statistically, I would say you're crazy. And you know what? It's just that roller coaster. They've been good more times than they've been bad, right? And the record shows that, the stats show that, and they've had guys that have stepped up in huge situations. Ben Vespi has stepped up and become somewhat of a Friday night guy for them, and that's been huge. Then you have guys like Ben McCabe, who was literally one of the worst hitters you've ever seen the first couple of weeks of the year. He's DHing. They move him to first base. He's not in his head so much. Next thing you know, the guy's crushing the baseball. So things it's been a wild ride for them, a roller coaster ride. And, they just got to hope that they're on the upswing. They're reaching the peak of that roller coaster when conference tournament rolls in.
Stephen, some encouraging innings from David Litchfield against Houston. Yeah. What did you see from him, and what do you think he needs to do as this season progresses on, particularly into the tournament?
Yeah, so he's a sinker slider guy. You're going to get pitches that go both directions from him. And with a guy like him who has a sinker, you want to see depth in that pitch, right? You want that dive, and he wasn't getting that. It was his fastball was flattening out. It was getting up in the zone, and when it's up in the zone and it's flat, it's easy to hit. That's batting practice. And so he doesn't throw 95, 96, so 90 miles an hour up in the zone is very hittable. But 90 miles an hour that's got some depth to it, got some really good movement to it, arm side run, and some sink is really tough to hit. And so he got back into that. He's down in the zone. He's got good action on his fastball again. And that's what his bread and butter is. And that's what we saw from him when he was successful. He had a lot of movement on his fastball, and it was down in the zone. He was working down at the knees and getting a lot of swing and miss. And when he went bad, it was up in the zone, and it really, really flattened out.
Unless there's an upset in the conference tournament next week and East Carolina doesn't get in or doesn't win, we're only going to get one team in this tournament. Is this the worst the Americans been in a while, or what can we expect when we move to the Big 12? How much bigger of a jump is that going to be?
It's going to be a huge jump. I mean, that's a huge, huge jump. I mean, you're looking at teams that are a couple of those teams have been some of the best teams in the country within the last decade. And so not the same has been able to be said about the American. And so, I really don't expect ECU to win it. I saw what they did last year when they were out there. I'm not sure if they just didn't play well as a tournament team. You know, we got to face them a couple of times and really should have beat them multiple times out there. And so I'm not really sure what you're going to see out of a team like that. But in regards to what we've seen in this conference, it's just been really middle of the pack. And I think that's a lot of college baseball right now. You're seeing some teams in different situations and whatnot. There's some fluctuation, but it's been a tough year for the American, and one team is going to come out of this. Excuse me. And so we'll see who it is, and it just depends on who's hot.
Well, if you're able, let's see if we can get together after the regular season ends, before the conference tournament, talk about the Knights' chances going into Clearwater, maybe a little special that we'll release on the Suns YouTube channel. Stephen Branca, we appreciate you joining us on the Sons of UCF Live. Good luck with that doubleheader tomorrow and the mimosas that'll be flowing in the press
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I won't be doing mimosas, but I might be wearing shorts for the first time in the broadcast booth because it's going to be a steamy day out there. So I got to sit there for two games next to Mark. I mean, that's, not anything against Mark. I mean, but anybody smells like they're sitting there at 95 degrees.
Let's chop that soundbite up right there. That's the soundbite.
You should see the text messages between Mark and I. We got a text today about, hey, is everybody going to be good showing up? And he's like, the only issue I got is with Steven. And I said, yeah, I hate Mark, but, we'll be good. And, we got a great relationship. So trust me, you can cut that up any way you want. We'll still give each other daps and hugs after this. So.
Gotcha. All right.
You have that Suns Yeti. I mean, you can fill that up with a nice Bloody Mary. Nobody will know.
Don't tell nobody, all right?
Mike, always with the good ideas.
Yeah.
Steven, thanks a lot. We'll see you out at the ballpark.
See ya.
All right, going around the kingdom. Congrats, track and field indoor and outdoor champions. Coach and her staff have done a tremendous job. That is quite an accomplishment for them. Men's golf, they finished 9th in the NCAA regional at New Haven. Just the top 5 advanced, so UCF will not be doing that. UCF student athletes, huge 29 consecutive semesters, department grade point average 3.0 or better, 3.38 GPA this semester. Mike, that is the most important thing here, their academics. And let's end with this. I jiggered this because we knew we were going to miss you off the top of the show. And I want you to help me understand the following sentence. Crypto, UCF Athletics announces a new cryptocurrency partnership program for the coming season. Opportunity for a brand new crypto token for each of the night's 7 home games at the Bounce House. The first one, Pautical, ecosystem of blockchain-powered solutions that make a positive impact on the lives of pets and pet owners all over the world, will serve as the first crypto partner. Now, what does all that mean? Break that down for us, Mike.
I went out to dinner last year I guess it was around this time, when Bitcoin was as high as it's ever been, about $64,000. And the people I was with, I'm not going to say who they were, convinced my wife we had to get in on it. And she was dying to get in on it that next day. Thank God I talked her out of it. And we would have lost all our money by now. I don't know. I think it's all a big pyramid scheme, but who knows? Wow. One day it could be the money of the future. I
can tell you this, Trace. I looked it up. Right now, Pautical is trading at 2 cents. Their 90-day high was 8 cents. And there's a lot of optimism that there's room here. There's room to grow. So to get in on Pautical early, Mike, I don't know, let the missus know there's a lucrative investment opportunity at her fingertips.
I'll buy her a couple of Shiba Inus. I think those are really cheap. Those are like 0.000001 cents.
What's a crypto token? It's just a tchotchke? It's just something? I mean, that's not worth anything either? I don't know. Good for UCF. But the whole thing, that'd be an interesting, some sort of marijuana-related company sponsoring the Bounce House. Timo has said that a stadium name is coming soon. Maybe at one of his upcoming tour stops, he'll make an announcement. All right. Well, thanks for clarifying that, Mike, that you convinced your wife not to buy into that. And, don't tell her about.
I wouldn't be in this house right now, bro.
Crypto opportunity. Let's fire up the mailbag. No walk and talks this week, so just some regular questions. What's the music this week? Say music? Yeah, say music. At UCF Realist, Mike, you missed our talk about linebacker U that UCF is not at the moment. Why can't we keep linebackers on the roster, UCF Realist is asking.
I mean, if I had the answer to that, I'd have the answer to the crypto question too. I don't know, man. But at least every time we lose one, we seem to be replacing with somebody else. We still don't know the story on Terrence Lewis and how that's going to all shake out. So stay tuned for all summer, and we'll keep you updated on it.
UCF Realist also asking about Alex Freeland. I asked Coach Lovelady that following the Bethune-Cookman game. He's hopeful that he'll see him by time of conference tournament. 50-50 on whether we'll see him against Cincinnati. And Connor Stain, we talked a little bit about it with Steven, the blister issue. You got to get him some work against Cincinnati if he's going to be effective in Clearwater. So those are the other questions there. At NightFan94, I like this one. How many lights have been hit at games Trace didn't attend? Noticing a trend, or is this like the tree falling in the woods? If Trace isn't there to report it, did it even happen? I'm looking at my laptop. I'm not watching every foul ball. and it clanged off the lights again. That's 3 times this year. What I'm not sure of is whether it hit a new light or just rattled out some more glass of a bulb they hadn't replaced yet. So at least 3 times. I'm not aware of any others this year. At Night Fan 94, I'm sorry, 2 letters, 2 words. Robert, this is a tough, I hate these questions. If you had to choose only one, would you choose to invest? Oh, not this one. The other one is the one I don't like. Would you choose to invest in facilities infrastructure for UCF baseball or softball? Baseball or softball?
I mean, right now, softball's got the more consistent program, right? I mean, they've been more consistent in terms of their record and their play. So, I mean, I'd dump my cryptocurrency money on the winning side. I'll go softball right now.
No, we just talked to Eric Lopez. He would tell you that softball gets better ratings than baseball and has for a long time. So I think that might be where the money is. Put the money towards softball and let's see how far this program can go. They're already better than the baseball team right now. So why not?
It's an interesting question, though. If you invest in facilities and you grow capacity and you attract more fans, then perhaps it's a greater revenue generator. I don't know whether that means it surpasses baseball, but if you want to see whether it can, invest in it more. So having been out there, the way it's positioned, you look into the surface of the sun, it is going to be hot unless the rain disrupts things. And, you know, it's interesting, not only the talk about Cincinnati with Steven, but also this tournament with Elo. The 96 degrees in Orlando area may help the Knights. So actually, let it be steamy and hot. This is the question that I'm not fond of. At all night with all the L's in honor of softball hosting a regional, would you rather softball win a national championship once, but never make the post-regional stage again, or make postseason play every year, never win the whole thing? Hate that question.
Give me the chip, print the shirts. Give me the one shirt. I'll wear it forever. I'll take the chip.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's an easy question. I mean, just give me to win the whole thing. I mean, or to get there every year and not win it, that's like torture. Just give me the whole thing.
Of course, you from a couple of weeks ago saying that as long as UCF beat the Cows in football, you'd lose to them in every other sport. You're pretty happy about run ruling the Cows in softball the other day, though. So, see, you don't want to get shut out by them all the time. Sublime_Night, will we ever get back to college football parity, the glory days, or as Nick Saban remembers them, or has NIL ruined the level playing field forever?
So I think it's unfair to say it's just NIL, right? I think there's so many other factors that come into this. The one-time transfer rule, I think that's a big part of it as well. I don't know if we ever get parity. I mean, we haven't really seen a whole bunch of it yet. And more so just because, too, I don't know that the insiders want the outsiders involved, right? I think parity comes when there's a level playing field and there's some consistency there. It seems like the 4 or 5, 6 teams are all vetted in by the same governing body. If that doesn't change, I don't know you get any parity. So I don't know the NIL is the only reason, but I think it's precious that Nick Saban is looking for some more parity. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, there's never been parity in college football. It's been the rich get richer, and then the other one's got to try to keep up. I don't know what Nick Saban's complaining about. His boosters are going to give more money than anybody, so he's in a good spot.
We will end the mailbag section from UCF, who says some fans compare decommits and outgoing transfers to people switching employers. Others see it more of a breakup divorce. How the Suns view players leaving UCF for other schools, which, by the way, Mike, you missed off the top when we were talking about linebacker U here. UAB transfer Chris Maul decommits. His promise to UCF goes to Washington. I think it's an interesting question because this week on your show, you had Bo Schneider. So is Bo once a night, always a night? Where are we at on that? You guys seem, I don't know. You treat the guys nice, it's good conversation, but are they former Knights or are they not? Are they done? You're done with them? You invite them back, you're all happy to talk to them, which is...
Bo is once a Knight, once a Panther, and once an Aggie. So he's once all of those things. So, I mean, come on. The guys that stay here for 1 year, no, they're not always a Knight. They were once a Knight, and that was it. They were there one time. But, I mean, we're still going to have a chance to talk to him, and plus, he's probably the only guy that returned our phone call. So we had to talk to him.
Not probably on that one.
So he's once a night. He's once
a
night. But we withhold from Bo Schneider the disclaimer, always a night.
I mean, he claims to still be a UCF supporter, so I'll give him that. I don't know if he's always a night.
He played under 5 coaches, and as I was listening to it, I thought he left out Danny Barrett as interim head coach when George O'Leary was.
I think he left out a lot of things from that season.
It was brutal. It was brutal, by the way. It was like torture. It's like, all right, so take us through game 4 when the team lost.
And then you fumbled twice. Yeah, that was a tough one.
And he even said at one point, I guess we're going through every game. And I'm going to say the same thing. It was a season I'd rather forget. And I'm like, oh, they're going through every one of these terrible games.
Yeah, so the answer to that question is also the answer to the question from UCF. And I think it depends on how you leave the program, whether or not it's a divorce, breakup situation, or an employer moving on, right? I think the way you carry yourself, the way you sort of leave, I think that matters. Just like in a relationship, think about work right now. If Timmy from accounting leaves, you're like, oh, Timmy left, who knew, right? But if the person that sits next to you at work leaves, that feels differently to you because there's a connection point there. So I think that impacts. I give Bo a pass, though. I think Bo came to UCF with the best intentions, wanted to play, got thrown into a crappy situation, ends up, doing the best he can, which obviously we all know wasn't really good enough, frankly, from an entire team perspective. And at that point has to make a tough decision. And I think the funny thing about it is it impacted the rest of his career. He never threw another pass in college. I mean, he literally did not throw another pass in college football after that. And you wonder how much that impacted his career. So I give the Bo once a night, always a night sort of pass because I don't think that's how he wanted that to end up. Now, maybe some other quarterbacks who just left us recently, that's where you go, hey, you made this decision. You figure this one out. I think Bo had a lot of cards dealt his way. And frankly, for an 18, 19-year-old kid to deal with him the way he did, I give the kid a lot of credit because he came on to talk to us about it, stand-up guy. Wasn't the way it should have gone down, but once a night, always a night, Bo Schneider. I'm with you.
When Eli Manning retired, he didn't want to go play for anybody else. He said, once a Giant, always a Giant, only a Giant. And that's maybe we're going to have to add that on to this phrase for some people. How do you describe Jalen Robinson? He just took off. What are your feelings towards him, Trace? Is he once a night, always a night?
I am pretty good with once a night, always a night. I'm fine with that. I don't.
But we need to add only a night for some.
Well, I think we have to add for Chris Mull, never a night. So there's never a night. There's once a night. Once a night, always a night. What's the new one? Once a night, always a night, forever a night.
Only a night.
So we've expanded this.
I need a pinky on campus. No pinky, no night.
So I don't have quite the animosity. I do think of it as they've got to make. I mean, I think Bo Schneider is a good example of that. Coach changes, system changes. He's not a good fit for that system. Should he be stuck in that system? He certainly didn't transfer out of UCF hoping to never play again and never throw a meaningful pass. So he was trying to find the right fit for him. So I just think of it as that.
Yeah, he didn't look like he was going to get playing time the next year. It was a whole new system coming in, didn't fit him. So he made the right decision for himself. I don't think he had any bad feelings towards UCF.
So we got a minute or two. Mike, back to cryptocurrency.
I don't have any. I don't know what to tell you. I wish I did with 10 years
Why don't you buy your wife some of this? What is it called again? Particle.
Okay.
Yes.
Sure, I'll go throw up a couple bucks.
It's something she's interested in. It'll cost you 2 cents. You throw one of those tokens, a ribbon on the package. She'll be very happy you bought her some crypto.
Could be worth something 20 years from now. Maybe.
Right now it's worth 2 cents. So buy a lot of it just so you can be ready. It wasn't.
All right, guys. I appreciate you joining us this Wednesday to accommodate some changes in schedule.
It's over? I just got here.
Yeah, I know. We can continue on.
Something on your mind, Mike? I mean, floor's yours. What do you got?
No, I'm done. I haven't had dinner yet.
So wrap it up. We're hoping we'll be able to speak with Stephen Branca after the bracket is all set in Clearwater and preview the American Championship in baseball next week. We wish softball a very good weekend and advancing out of that regional at UCF, and hope we have more to talk about with them next week. And I hope I'll be able to get over to Clearwater at some point to catch baseball in person. So we're not quite sure what the show will look like a week from now, but we do hope you will be with us, and be sure to listen to the pod. Two Nights Media, all that good stuff. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Win a chance to get that Yeti tumbler. I know people are annoyed. They want us to give it away, but we said 450 people, right, Adam? Are we getting closer at least?
I thought I said 425. I don't even remember anymore.
Was it 425 for Mike to get the tattoo? Is that what we agreed on that off the top of the show? Mike, you missed that.
I already got the tattoo. You guys want to see it? No.
Oh, show's over.
Hello. Hey.
Hello. Hey.
Boy, I'll tell you, the audio-only listeners are really missing a show. Yeah, that's for sure. Everyone, thanks, Mr. Woodall. We wish Cable all the best this weekend. Elo, Steven, Good luck out there at the ballparks this weekend for both of you. For Adam and Mike, I'm Trey Strolko. Go Knights!
Charge on.
Charge on.
You going to both
United.
games tomorrow, Trey?